Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are here, and in very fortunate circumstances, we are about to hear a voice. A voice. You want to know what I mean by that word? Look at that word's history and take it all the way back. Kim Shuck, San Francisco Poet Laureate Emeritus, is our feature. She is the seventh Poet Laureate of San Francisco, and I am, as I have been, respectful of her perspective, soulful nature, just as I am glad to know her, hear her words, and to have had the honor of sharing poetry with her at events. Kim's most recent books are Exile Heart, Noodle, Rant, and Tangent. She also was the editor of This Wandering State, which is an anthology, as well as Beat Not Beat. Kim is one of the organizers of Manifest Differently, a poetry and visual art action focusing on the impacts of manifest destiny, which will be up around San Francisco from the fall of 2023 into 2024. She hosts 3 readings a month and has done so since she was Poet Laureate. This summer, she will also have a show of her artwork at the SF Main Library. However, above all those things, and this is something that has me appreciate her even more, it's very important for her to say that she is the happiest when supporting other poets. And I can attest to that. I've seen it. She has quite the voice, even when she speaks softly. She is heard unto the far, far reaches of this universe. She is gracious, professional, and one will note in hearing her speak that she is a wondrous writer, to say the least. So I could go on, but you would probably want me to tone it down a bit per our pre-show conversation. So Kim, I'm going to mute me, and the mic is now to you.
Thank you, Dan. I'm always tempted when the introduction goes a little long to go, well, that's my time, thank you, and just not read. All right. I'm going to read you some pieces from a assembly of things that have all been written this month, and it's called the aggregate is called Excavating March. Excavating March, the women's lives, uncatalogued, the liminal characters, the grandma's purses full of sacred equipment, the terrors of womanhood, the palms that smooth or tie, mix nourishment or poison, the burned alive, the cherished, the unknown riders, the unseen soldiers, the fierce affection, the sharp shots, the singers of lesson songs, the never got a girlhood, the illegal in their own bodies, the women, us. That came partly from a recent collection I helped edit. Um, Somebody was interviewing me about it and asked me how many trans women were in the book. And I said, well, I don't know, and neither do you. It's kind of a silly question. Practice. My fingers find the crack in the husk and pick to release the seeds. Once a year, we would shell the walnuts into a torn brown paper shopping bag. The allowed arts for working class women, the generations we fed, and I, one foot in working class, the other in privilege, catching balance between, as I can still remember, picking fruit, snapping beans, wild halos of steamed curls at my hairline, stirring the plums and sugar with the big wooden spoon in the white and red enamel pot, another thing we saved. Tell me, what do you know about unsafe hours? Being so broken you can slip your bonds for good, the fragments sliding easily out of cuffs or rope, about foraging tools from what's left, something we outgrew, these captive identities. Sometimes we retire them early. Dream the old friend, dream all morning, textures of light, a vintage afternoon, a walk up in an alley, such a cliche, music and cigarettes and the taste of wormwood, a medicine for weaning babies, a bitter discouragement, a way to learn a strange craving. Lightning knows that there are trees to hit, to transform. Potential cures arrive, sharp sound and ozone. Woman's body, they want us owned in a different way. They define us by our wombs, by our resale value, the babies, as though those small things don't grow with quirks and preferences of their own. What a heartbeat means and what it doesn't. What control really is as lightning strikes and everything changes again. Hide in the sunshine, in warm blankets and hot tea, burn away the exhaustion, the innocent disappointment, the been used again. Exhale the sad of shattered first reaching. The only way to grow is to grow. Recover stronger, get ready, and work again. Storm moon. And what magic may be rummaged, the torn aquamarine, the investment of preparing ground, preparing for planting, the years that strip thinking back to the bones, with the literal wild and driving rain just at the edges of hail. We come to the boundary, the mystery, a temporary designation at best. We come to the boundary, two things just touching, to listen to moon songs and the light returning. Women have walked across this change in logic, a migration, a liberty, right, a gift, dangerous at the edges. We bring our curiosity, our damage, our difference, our strange powers, our questions that we may serve for a moment. Clouds, fists, brought to water, to writings, to any of the rumored answers. Walk across in hope. Name the day for a stolen power and make women's health care illegal. We've all other lives, the message not lost. Sometimes we meet them on the stairs at 3 a.m., just a shiver surrounded by rain on window glass, the water cradled in green onyx, the notorious bath, a world in flick fragments, a noun, another, their connections obscured, their improvised games. An elegance of patchwork and magnetized kindness drawn together by the unseeable forces. It's all lunch, lit by angled light, a women's duet. We were subtle. We aren't always. There's preservation and there's change, walking slowly towards different measures, the wisdom of mistakes well made, made again. A word moved, line to line, and in breath, out. Lemon's taste of anticipation, a brightness peeled in one piece as any challenge, any birthday gift in a month of code, each word discovered using different rules, marks recovered by mudslip and rainwash. Laboring tree down the street, this season of weather, blossoms scattered, fast as they burst, an empty promise, a message not taken, a symbol suitable for poems and other lies. All lives are invented. The women could fly, the board digging, unfamiliar soil heading north, the playground that still holds me in trauma, a playground indoors. We sing circles, circles noticed in pieces, in arcs and points and unending resonance, a graceful inability to settle our own demons. Day, not vague and unformed, but this day that edges closer and catches moments in this fold, in this other, the women who changed in captive arcs, changed name, changed the world, taken out of context and freed. The mountain, for them, scoured clean of stories, whispered secrets, lost now, then sharpened into keys. Some histories are scraped from the errata, from family story, not available to everyone. History, any way the paw prints of the lost, the story of the species eaten to extinction, recently brushed, we prepare, gather symbols to scatter later, collect the small spells, knowing that they're the only ones. Voice, sun warmed, salt worn, freed Friends, with the words chosen carefully, we are a complicated business, this tradition, with an unexplained but measurable outcome. The voice, fishing with invisible hooks. A poem knows when it catches. It's impossible to tell what. Watching from these 3,000 miles, shadows on the screen, they dig for answers, shadows and shadows, these legendary evils, the hills, here, slipping all mud and movement, the skies, luscious with change, but off east, they dig for ghosts. Traveling over water requires particular songs. We return to the strange days. Once this place was loved too, thick with acorns for anyone to lose themselves. The men across the street in the park smoke, lances of relaxation they stand, threads of rainfall made semi permanent before the careful quilting of an afternoon. Ferries on toe tip. I don't know who's taking out the eucalyptus over Sausalito. Here the hunting's good and changed. A single egret fusses in the mud of low tide. The press of rising barely felt through the soil under blacktop. Smile, smile and wonder. The channel shifts. It shifts across the day. Childhood pendulum. It's the earth that's moving, and to what we would do without a ritual. Rabbits arriving in untranslatable measures just out of the corner of the eye. Our lips do not touch forever. New moon and daffodils and soap flowers, the bee sound catching at tongue roots and baking bread. I know you, a stunning child you were. The wind came up, tearing choreography. Your teenaged hand cradled the book, just so. She never talks about anyone. A collection of modest debaucheries, a memory of mountains. They sound through our soft bodies like wizardry. It's hard to believe in them, but we yearn in the direction of belief. Her stories, taste of spring violets. After the last windstorm, we trust in the friction of another woman's care. Some of us are still in darkness, spun like the house sparrow, pinned to the stripped wooden siding. Audacious wind, unpainted. Below the front door, we trust. Dancing in the kitchen, tea and silver insects, the memory of music. Some 40 years past, it's still a language, a fraught lullaby, amazement, a healing. Saints medal in the road, exclamation points of the young men, their bodies of vehemence, a bold tight pace. Oh, Grandma, some days I'm so tired, such a raveled knitting, and this is the best time. Old songs and morning leg cramps aside, I step on the amulet for luck, pull words out of the surface of this day, this very one. I think this is the last one of these. Wind takes our breathing, scatters words, spins intentions, stand surrounded by imagination confetti, produce of dozens of dazzled, open-hearted, and hopeful menders of heartache. And I just want to point something out. This is Stephen Meadows' book, and it's really, really good. So if you find yourself by way of being able to acquire one, you should. Thank you so much for having me here. It's been great hearing everybody so far.
Oh, I
Yay! Kim.
love it. All kinds of new work. Thank you.
Wow.
Somebody asked me a question. Why is asking about trans inclusion a silly question? Because I don't require people to tell me what their birth gender was. So no, it's not transphobia, darling. It's just that you don't always know who people are. And sometimes it's intrusive to ask.
All right. I understand that.